What are the pitfalls and failure modes that a sponsor may find? Well, I think the first is co-sponsors. This is very attractive, right? If one sponsor is good, then many must be better. But everyone can be a co-sponsor, but yet when things go wrong, no one is the co-sponsor. And that's the problem, right? The sponsor is very often quite invisible and not the hero. And so fundamentally, it's easy to sign up, be the co-sponsor, but when things go wrong, somebody needs to be stepping up. Somebody needs to be getting engaged at that right moment. You can't walk into a room of co-sponsors, ask for help, and find everyone looking at the floor. So occasionally we make these exceptions where two people really believe that they are working together hand in hand and trying to help move the organization. So as long as that alignment is really, really clear, it can work. But the first rule of thumb should be avoid it. Have a clear sponsor and make sure that they know they're the ones that have to make sure that the team has what they need to be successful. The second problem is do not be unavailable. You have to be available to the team and particularly to the team leader. Now, one way to do this is, especially in a project that's going to last a while, is make sure that you have a high cadence of one-on-ones scheduled with the team leader so that if things come up, you have a chance to talk about them. You can always cancel the one-on-ones if you don't need them. But fundamentally, if your phone rings and it's the team leader, you should interrupt your meeting with your boss and take that call. Right? This is how important it is because you have a team of resources put together across the organization trying to get hard work done. And your phone shouldn't be ringing unless they have a problem. They need some help. They need an answer, a decision, a barrier removed, a new resource. Fundamentally, they need answers. And if they have to find time on your schedule a couple of weeks out just in order to get a question answered, it's not going to work very well. So make sure that as a sponsor, you are available to the team and the team leader. Third, your role as a sponsor is not to generate the solution. If you are not worried about the best solution, you're not worried about the team, it really comes down to ego. We all love it when our solution is chosen. But that's not the objective here. The objective is to empower a team who's closer to the work, who understands it very well, who's been given clear directions by you as a sponsor, and allow them to generate the solution. So your role as a sponsor is not to generate the solution. Now, sometimes I find that a sponsor or even a coach, leader, wants to delegate, wants to give the work over to a team, but they care a great deal about the specific answer. And so often what happens is they come to me, they're looking for guidance, I'm leading this team, sponsoring this work, and they're not headed where I want them to head. Well, fundamentally, they probably should have been the team leader. They cared way too much about the outcome, about the solution, about the work, that they shouldn't have been hands-off. They should have taken other things off their plate, sponsored other work, delegated other work, and decided this thing I care about, I want to own it. But if you're the sponsor, you don't own the solution. That's not your role, and if you try to make it your role, you're really ending your role as sponsor and becoming de facto team manager. And while that was about the work, the outcome, also your job is not to manage the work, the process, right? That's the role of the team leader, the facilitator, the project manager, all three. That's their role, to manage the process. And again, with the same thing in mind, if you wanted to manage the process all along, then be the team leader. Don't be the sponsor. But fundamentally, if you've given ownership of this project to a team leader, to a facilitator, you can give all the input you want, but don't manage the process. That's their job. The last thing to keep in mind is that we misread our implied power. Right? As soon as we're named sponsor of something, that means we're in charge of it, right? Well, that's not absolute power. That doesn't mean that you get to roll over stakeholders. That doesn't mean that you don't have to align with them, that you don't have to bring them along. So yeah, as the sponsor, you have a significant amount of power, but that doesn't mean your power can go unchecked. Right? And so misreading that implied power ultimately results in not maintaining that alignment with other stakeholders, what their interests are, whether they've shifted or not, whether everybody's really getting what they needed, what internal customers need out of the project. So as a sponsor, you are a servant of that work, not the absolute dictator of it. And so when sponsors misread their implied power by being named a sponsor, we can really run awry of having a successful project in the end. So there's plenty of ways to make mistakes and have failures along the way of a complicated project, but these particular failure modes are specific to the role of a sponsor. All of them are recoverable. All of them can be fixed as long as you recognize it and make corrections along the way. But we have to know their failure modes so that even if we overstep our bounds, even if we make mistakes, we can recognize those mistakes and act quickly to get ourselves back on track.